And then
It's
you couldn't believe if you watched the
illusion. It's all a fucking illusion. All of them, when convenient, have said the exact same things.
Dragons are real.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The guys are back with another episode of Protect Our Parks, and Mark Normand was in fine form, pushing the boundaries of Rogan's wit with his Tourette-style rapid-fire comedy. And if you look back over the 13 episodes of Protect Our Parks, each one is like a nail in the coffin of the slow death of Rogan's comedy brain. In this episode, Joe seemed to be the furthest away from his buddies that I've ever seen him. I mean, there were several points where they were just sitting there waiting for him to finish rattling off the same old talking points, and then they jump in and quickly agree, kiss the ring, and collect their paycheck. Well, except for when Rogan went to the bathroom and Shane Gillis said the quiet bit out loud. But we'll get to that a little bit later, because in this 4-hour episode of JRE, they covered so many different topics that it was hard to keep track. However, one thing you can always count on is the customary wankfest over their comedy credentials and how they're the last line of defense in the battle for free speech and expression. Because, you know, burping, farting, and making dick jokes are the 3 pillars of freedom of expression in modern America. Thank 'em be. I should say, though, that it's mostly Rogan and Ari that wax lyrical about how important they are in preventing World War III. Shane and Mark usually just sit there waiting to jump in with a zinger that inevitably flies over Papa Rogan's shiny head. But we should be grateful for the opportunity to sneak a peek behind the curtains of the comedy mothership green room. It's a very rare sighting to have 4 of the top 250 comedy assassins in one place, all mic'd up and on camera. And just in case you'd forgotten how rich they are, don't worry. They reminded us at the beginning of the podcast.
I remember when I found out how much money people would make doing stand-up, like if they sold out a whole weekend at the Irvine Improv. And I was like, that's what I get at a comedy club. What they get at a comedy club is what I get on sitcoms.
A season.
Yeah, no, an episode.
I mean, close.
No.
Shane,
not the
it's a
Irvine
different
Improv.
time. What you're doing is a different time.
No. For sure.
A long time ago, no one was doing the Wells Fargo. It's teacher money.
Yeah.
Teacher for the year money.
Yeah,
Teacher.
for a whole year. Yeah, what a teacher gets in a whole year, you get in a weekend being drunk.
There's
Big drunk.
It might be a problem. That's kind of a problem.
It's not, though, because it's hard to get there. They could do it, too. You don't like teaching? You just put together an act.
just take 14 years and build up.
That's the thing. Like the reality of comedy is it really takes 10 years to be any good.
You got to grow. You hear that, Jamie? You gonna
Jamie
sit on the table
grew a
forever?
mustache.
Jamie's looking Mexican as now.
Yeah, you look good.
Whoa.
Jaime Vernon is.
Ay, caramba.
I thought he looked more Persian. But
You can pass as anything, brother.
Like a rug.
Yeah. Oh, because you got that long hair too.
You look good, dude.
Let's not go crazy.
Yeah, handsome guy.
Relax.
Ponytail, mustache.
Fuck, life's good, huh? And can I just say, Jamie was in fine form on this episode. Not only was he looking like a registered sex offender, but he did absolutely zero fact-checking and just let Rogan loose, which was a sight to behold. I'm telling you guys, the best episodes are the ones with absolutely zero interruptions from JMO. But somehow, some way, in what can only be described as one of the biggest copes in Austin comedy history, Tony Hinchcliffe managed to be the focus of most of the conversation, popping up several times over the 4 hours. Rogan kept bringing him up as if Tony was paying him to do ad reads on him, and Shane kept roasting Tony for being an arrogant twink with an ego the size of an elephant. Incidentally, Tony just dropped what looks to be a comedy special recorded at the mothership exclusively on Twitter. So make sure you check out the link in the description to my Patreon and get signed up, because I'll be doing a full review of Garbage in the coming days. Plus, I've also been covering all the drama with the Puerto Rico joke, as well as how Tony and Rogan are ruining comedy. So go and check that out if you're interested. The thing that I find the funniest, though, in this whole situation is how Rogan and Tony are single-handedly keeping this conversation alive by constantly bringing it up and complaining about how everyone's complaining about Tony's joke. You know, the whole cancellation fear-mongering that Rogan and his buddies have made a career out of. If they just shut up about it, everyone would forget. But obviously, now that Trump won, Tony's going hard in the paint with a dedicated comedy special, gloating about how this is somehow a win for him when, if anything, it exposed how shallow his comedy book really is. And now that we're talking about it, how in the fuck is Tony Hinchcliffe supposedly one of the biggest comedians on the planet? According to Rogan, Kill Tony sets the tone for comedy around the world. Yep, he actually said that. Yet Tony's never released a proper comedy special. Even though Rogan's recent live comedy special has a 4.5 out of 10 rating on IMDb, at least he actually did it. Tony's biggest claim to fame is his 5-minute set at the Tom Brady roast, which, to his credit, was pretty fucking awesome. But can we all stop drinking the Kool-Aid and realize that even though Tony's one of the best roasters going around, he's still just a whiny bitch who stamps his feet when he doesn't get his way? See, when you're a top 250 comedy murderer, it doesn't matter if you're wrong. All that matters is the company you keep.
It was a fun time for comedy.
It is a great time for comedy.
Bad time for boxing.
I always quote you,
Literally.
Ari,
Couldn't have
because you
been
said comedy's
better.
dangerous.
It is. Tony proves that.
Yeah.
All of it proves it.
Dangerous.
Tony proves it.
It's dangerous.
Yeah,
you do a
comedy's
joke, you're like,
dangerous.
what are you mad at? I was just trying to entertain everybody. This disingenuous thing of like, well, they're trying to make people mad. No one's trying to make anyone mad. We're trying to entertain, but it gets people mad.
Yeah, we don't want to offend anybody. We want to get laughs.
Joey
Big
Diaz
picture.
says one of my many hubbubs. Somebody was like, "But Ari shouldn't have said this thing, not even the one you're thinking of." And then he goes, "Yeah, but he's our friend." In a story.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
That's our friend.
Yeah. If you're not offending anybody, like, well, you're not trying.
You got to
Yeah.
get to the line.
Yeah.
You offend 2% of people, perfect.
Yeah.
98% are on your side. You just you're right on the line, perfect. That's the thing. It's a great time for us. So it's,
a
like
great
you don't wanna
time.
complain.
It's a challenging time. All challenging times are great times. As long as World War III doesn't pop off and it doesn't become like the end. It's like we're basically at the Cuban Missile Crisis, but like accelerated.
Imagine thinking comedy is anything other than just being funny. These cope sessions are getting cringier by the day at this point. Only Joe Rogan could equate stand-up comedy to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like, seriously, what in the actual fuck is he talking about? And that's what I meant earlier when I said that he just says shit nowadays and his buddies sit there and agree with him, but you can tell they're just like, what the fuck is he talking about? I mean, it's no coincidence that most of those conversations are between Rogan and Ari, while Mark and Shane just sit there waiting for them to finish. The two funniest guys in the room are the quietest when Rogan's spinning his web. But thank God they were there, because without Mark and Shane, these episodes would be boring as fuck.
Stand-up comedy. It's like, let me
know
drink.
what?
I'm making so much money. Let me drink before work.
Tony Hinchcliffe has 4 thrones.
Yeah,
He has a lot of thrones.
He's a green
He
Corvette.
has way more thrones than anyone
He
should
gets
have.
thrones made. I'm thinking of getting a new throne.
it's tough, dude. Don't get me started on that fucking shit. It's funny when you find out that like Hinchcliffe was a fucking umpire in high school baseball.
Was he
What?
really?
What?
Wow.
Yo, Hinchcliffe can wrestle.
ball is so
He can
outside.
wrestle.
He's
he
more of a
really can
catcher.
wrestle. He had a wrestling match with David Lucas on stage at the
What?
Vulcan
Yeah.
after hours. That's right, you were there. Yeah, he David Lucas up. David Lucas is like 300 pounds. David Lucas was scrambling, trying to get to his feet. Hinchcliffe was controlling him. He was furious.
Who was the top?
He couldn't believe it. Tony was the top.
There
Tony
you
was-
go.
Yeah, you'll
That's how we
like
find
it.
out.
David was out of breath in 4 seconds.
Wow.
There was 4 seconds of exertion, and he was ready to have a heart attack.
Let's go eat.
He's got the
Yeah, I was
Lizzo
trying to
body.
tell that fella. I gotta clean that up.
Hinchcliffe. That was
He almost
suck.
lost the whole election.
Yeah, he did.
No, he gained him votes.
Okay, how is it possible that nobody got Tony Hinchcliffe and David Lucas wrestling on video? That would have been the funniest thing either of them have ever done by far. But did you guys know that Tony Hinchcliffe's Puerto Rico joke originated from the comedy mothership green room? See, that's the thing we've all been missing up until this point. Any joke that comes out of the shenanigans in the green room is sacred and is destined to make people laugh.
Fucked up thing is that joke was based on his need to, like, he gets freaked out about the environment. He gets freaked out about the pollution patch.
While he's in a throne.
We were super high. We were super
What's
high in the
going
green
on?
room. And
In
he's
the
like,
regular
dude,
world.
he's like, how long have there been plastic? There's only been plastic for 6 years. It's bigger than fucking Texas. It's in the. And so he starts getting obsessed
Yeah.
by garbage. And then he finds out about Puerto Rico. But the joke was actually out of his concern that Puerto Rico
He's an
is being
environmentalist.
smothered by garbage. He actually loves Puerto Rico.
He's trying
It's
to
like,
protect our parks.
he's
Trying to
just,
protect Puerto
he's a
Rico.
He's just a
He's a
and
male
he
Greta
doesn't
Thunberg.
understand. People don't know the whole backstory to that joke.
It's
they
so
know
funny,
that's a joke
too,
about
yeah.
Puerto Rico. You're doing it at a fucking Trump
You should
rally.
have defended him. You should have come out and just been like, he's retarded.
That would
all
be
be
the
like,
right
oh,
way to say
yeah.
it. I kind of did. I mean, I basically said that. Like, this is where it came from.
Like when the comics do, like when they'll try to defend somebody, but they're so scared of the backlash, they go,
Yeah.
"Look, I didn't like that joke, but it's his right to say it." It's like,
Bro, how
who
about
comments
when-
on that you don't like jokes?
Hey Ari, why don't you try looking across the table? Yep, Papa Rogan did exactly what you said you hated.
I got to tell you, that joke kills at comedy clubs. I don't like the joke. it kills. And I said to him, it's just like if you're Puerto Rican and you hear that in the audience, like, oh.
Yeah, that's awkward, huh? And just in case you'd forgotten, Rogan cancelled the End of the World podcast on election night because of the backlash from Tony's Puerto Rico joke. These Muppets whack lyrical about free speech and anti-censorship, but they're the first ones to tuck their tails between their legs and hide in the comedy mothership green room until it's safe to come out again. It's honestly like Rogan just discovered stand-up comedy during the pandemic and opened his comedy club as if it was the last comedy club on the planet. But enough comedy assassin talk because it's time to talk about dragons. Now, this whole thing has become so fucking funny, and not just because Rogan clearly believes in dragons but refuses to admit it, it's because he broke his number one rule: don't read the comments, and whatever you do, do not respond to the haters. However, at almost every step of the way, Rogan's acknowledged every single one of his controversies. He's even done a couple of apology videos, so for a guy who doesn't read the comments or respond to haters, he really does make a habit of reading the comments and responding to the haters.
Well, the internet coming at you is scary. People panic.
Yeah, don't read it.
Tony handled it really well.
So hard not
He
to
goes,
read.
take a
Don't
joke,
read
fuck off, and then just not another word about it.
I had to read the thing about The View because I just thought it was funny.
What's
That's
the
the
View?
only reason why I read that about me.
What's
Dragon
The View?
lover.
The
Go ahead, tell me
Joy
what this is.
Behar was trying to say that I believe in dragons.
Wait, what is this? I just
She
heard
said,
about
I checked it. And the lady goes, did you double check this? She goes, I checked it. He believes in dragons.
Should've been like,
you think they lived
Sasquatch,
alongside of
bitch.
people?
So what started out as just a laugh at how cringy The View is turned into a full-blown cope session where Rogan went on a 15-minute rant about why dragons probably did exist. Honestly, this is some of the funniest shit I've seen in a while, and it doesn't even make sense. Rogan got so butthurt for being called out by the women on The View that he doubled down and tried to prove them wrong by proving them right. I don't know, guys. I'm so confused.
This is where it came from.
They're hard
The
working.
View decided from this and from me talking about it with Adrian Appalucci the other day, explaining
Appalucci,
what
Dark
Forrest
Queen.
says and saying that I don't think that there was pterodactyls living with people. I said it. No. She said maybe they did live with this. I'm like, no. I thought my position is it's probably crocodiles or some big Komodo dragon or some big lizard that did kill people.
Touched one.
And so people fought them with swords and and they came back with a story, and then the artist drew it. All throughout these same time periods, there's been giant lizards. All throughout these same time periods, there have been Komodo dragons. There have been crocodiles. Have been here for 100 million years or whatever they've been for. Probably more.
The problem is you're taking Joey Behar, whatever her name is, as like a
This is right
as a news
after.
source.
Did you have a stroke?
No. This is the most important
I watch
part.
The View. I don't know these people.
Hey, this is the most important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she
What? It doesn't make sense to me that a middle-aged woman could be dumb.
when you're worried about losing your job and you're worried about podcasts taking over and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump is Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us and he won, and this is fucking great, and Joe Rogan believes in dragons. It's just frantic.
Bro, Rogan is coping hard. Why does he care so much about this? Of all the wacky shit he's said over the years, this is the one thing that's got him all jacked up on Alpha Brain. And like I said, he went on and on and on. And out of all the guests to sit in front of and rant about flying crocodiles that breathe fire, these guys probably weren't the best choice. I almost thought he was going to snap at one point and tell everyone to shut the fuck up so he could explain his theory without anyone talking over him. Joe, nobody gives a fuck if you believe in dragons. We're all more worried about 1 × 1 = 2.
Jamie, there's a photo that I have on my Instagram.
You got to start drinking, Ari.
I'm drinking.
Jamie, there's a photo I have on my Instagram of a whale that's on a wall in an old Italian church. The whale doesn't look nothing like a whale. The whale looks like a monster.
Joe Rogan believes in dragons.
So that's what
Here
it's
we
like.
go.
That's it.
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
pretty
what they
good.
thought a whale looked like.
A whale.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a crocodile.
That's a
So,
trend.
but look at it. That is the story from the
Dude, that's
Bible.
badass.
So they had never seen a whale before, so they drew this thing.
It looks like an alien monkey.
They're doing it in tile, in
He's
all
eating
defense.
ass.
It's a very difficult medium to work with.
What's that higher prime rate thing?
What is this? Oh, no.
Look at that guy.
Isn't that wild, though? So
saying
that is what...
I'm fucking out of here.
Big cool, bros.
So their version of things that we know what looked like, we're all up already.
Yeah.
So that's probably what dragons are. What dragons are probably giant crocodiles. I wonder if there were some kind of flying lizards at one point in human history. You know,
Here we
if you
go.
go, well, this is what the Bigfoot myth is about. The Bigfoot myth is about a thing that really existed. It's called Gigantopithecus, but it lived like 100,000 years ago. That was a thing that was passed on in stories. It's dead now. It doesn't exist anymore. But people were telling a story about a thing that was real. That's probably what dragons are. It's probably people telling a story about a thing that was real. And if 100, 200,000 years ago, there were some reptiles that could fly, we know that pterodactyls were fucking real. If they just find one of those things, it would change everything.
So after Joe finished justifying his belief in dragons without just straight out admitting he believes in dragons, which would have just been another routine episode of JRE, his buddies weren't going to let it slide without trolling him. The best was when Mark Normand interrupted Joe's rant about how Hillary Clinton is more MAGA than Trump because of a speech she did 20 years ago, and Rogan looked like he was about to go full jujitsu bear on him and snap him in half. But thanks to some quick thinking from Ari and Shane, they broke the ice and kept the conversation going. It's getting to the point now that Rogan doesn't laugh at anyone's jokes anymore. He's too busy ranting about the shit he reads on Facebook and Twitter, while waxing lyrical about how the comedy Mothership is going to save us from nuclear war. I thought it was ballsy, though, of Shane to call out Rogan's dragon bullshit when he went to the bathroom, and everyone else laughed and agreed with him. I get that they're all buddies and all of that, but it's so obvious that Joe's slowly going off the deep end, and his friends are just there to show their faces. It's kind of like they're working late to show their boss how dedicated they are to the firm, but they're really just waiting for the boss to leave so they can go home as well.
That was a funny defense of believing in dragons.
Yeah, he
And
kind
then
of
going, Sasquatch.
Sasquatch is real, though.
like, yeah,
I love when you're
dragons,
like, you could have got me on a real thing.
Yeah, you could have got me on
I think
Sasquatch.
they got him on that one.
Yeah, now, the view rules. What's going on with you?
Uh-oh.
You seem f***ed up.
What's
I
with
don't
the
know.
hat?
I know that's the worst thing somebody can say to you, so I do
See,
apologize.
I don't know.
There's a thing about Mars that's fascinating. And one of the things about Mars that's fascinating is at one point in time, whatever billion years ago, it had an atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it was
Water.
probably closer to the sun, and it probably had life. It probably had something. I think that was billions of years ago.
Life.
And
What do
also
you mean by life?
some sort of biological life.
Right.
I mean, I
Amoebas?
yeah, something. Now, whether or not there was actually human beings. who
Dragons,
fucking knows?
possibly.
But what is it, the Dogon tribe? Is it the Dogon tribe? 2008. Hillary Clinton was more MAGA than Trump.
She's always been a
Damn.
Republican.
But how about that?
Wow.
More MAGA than Trump.
And then
it's
you
all
couldn't believe
a
if you watched the
fucking
news.
illusion. It's all a fucking illusion. All of them, when convenient, have said the exact same things.
Dragons
And then
are
they're
real.
Yeah,
No,
it's
they really
crazy.
have,
It's
yeah.
crazy. They give you a false sense of reality, and you just got to shut them both off.
One of these days, Mark, one of these days. But at the end of this podcast, there was only one thing on my mind. Where the fuck is Bill Burr? We are so overdue for a Bill Burr JRE session, and now that I think about it, he hasn't been on since he roasted Joe in front of a live audience over his Little Rascals hat. That was the nail in the coffin for him, unfortunately, so I doubt we're going to see him on JRE anytime soon. Anyway, make sure you go and check out the link in the description to my Patreon if you're interested in my longer form uncensored content. While you're here though, hit the subscribe button and make sure you give me a thumbs up if you ended up liking this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
Tony should flip it. He goes, if you hate me, you're homophobic.
Yeah.
But he's not gay,
Thank
dude.
you. He's not?
gay. No.
He's somehow against all odds.
These are cold.
all that.
These are